Hey, welcome back to Chronic Health Solutions. I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt like caffeine is the only thing getting you through the day? You don't even think about it anymore. It is just part of the rhythm and routine of your day. You're tired, you're overwhelmed, and you're behind before you even finish breakfast. So you pour that first cup of coffee, then maybe another one later, and maybe something cold and caffeinated to survive that afternoon crash. But here's the truth that no one is talking about. The very thing that is helping you push through might actually be hijacking your healing. I know, don't come after me. I just want you guys to hear me out. Today, we're going to be talking about why caffeine feels really helpful in the moment and how it might actually be quietly making your symptoms worse. Let's get started. Welcome to Chronic Health Solutions. If you're more than just a tired mom, I'm talking trying to make it through the day without crashing by noon, you're not alone. I'm Ashley, a wife, mom, and certified health coach. I have been where you are, battling chronic health symptoms and chronic illness, things like brain fog, joint pain, and fatigue that made me wonder if I'd ever feel like myself again. After uncovering root causes like stress, poor sleep, and hormone imbalance, I found simple health routines to begin to feel better, one simple habit at a time. Keeping up with your kids is not impossible. Pop in your earbuds and take a break from the chaos. It's you time. Hey friend, I see you. You are trying so hard, but nothing seems to stick. You want to stop feeling scattered, anxious, and exhausted. You want routines that are going to help you reset your stress, feel better, and be emotionally present with your kids. That's why I created my one-on-one chronic health coaching. Together, we're going to build anchoring routines from some micro habits that are small enough to fit into your life, but can also make a huge shift in your health. You do not have to do it all alone. One session is all it takes to start feeling supported and more in control of your health. To find the details, you can go to ashleybraden.com/coaching. That's ASHLEYBRADEN.com/COACHING. Or you can find the link in the show notes below. I'll talk to you soon. All right, I want to paint you a picture and see if you recognize it. You wake up tired, not just sleepy, but I mean bone tired, exhausted. You grab a cup of coffee because it's the only way that you're going to function. You've got kids to homeschool, or you've got kids to get out the door to school, you have dishes in the sink, you have emails to respond to, and a nervous system that already feels like it's running on empty. But by the time 2 p.m. rolls around, your brain is foggy, your energy has flatlined, you can't stay awake, and you've still got a full evening ahead of you. So what do? You grab another coffee, or maybe an iced tea, or maybe something with a little bit of a kick. And it works, sort of. You push through, you get things done, but then bedtime comes, and suddenly your brain is not shutting off. You feel wired and restless even though you are desperate for sleep and beyond exhausted. Or maybe you do sleep, but it doesn't feel like you were well rested. You wake up groggy, puffy, overwhelmed, and the cycle starts over again. Does that sound familiar? If it does, then let's talk about what caffeine is actually doing to your body. Here's the thing. We often think that caffeine is going to give us energy, but it actually doesn't. What it's doing is it's blocking a chemical called adenosine, which builds up throughout the day to tell your body you're tired, it's time to rest. So when you're drinking caffeine, you're not making more energy, you're just numbing out your tiredness. You're turning off your body's signal to rest. That might help you get through that afternoon, but it's going to come at a cost. So you don't feel tired, so you keep going. Even though your body actually is exhausted, it needs rest, it needs recovery. So, we talk about this push, crash cycle that I know so many of you relate to. It's where you're pushing yourself, pushing to the point that you crash, and then you crash for days at a time. If you are consistently using caffeine to make it through, then keep in mind that it is likely feeding into this push crash cycle that we've talked about before. The other thing to remember is that cortisol, your stress hormone, is going to elevate and stay elevated when you are consistently consuming caffeine. Your brain is also going to struggle to enter deep sleep, especially in the first half of the night. You are also likely to wake up feeling groggy, unrested, and potentially inflamed, especially if you're using a coffee that has mold in it, which a lot of them do. And what are you going to do in order to cope? You're going to grab more caffeine and thereby just continue the cycle. It really is a loop. And if you are ready to start dealing with chronic symptoms like fatigue, joint pain, autoimmune flare-ups, emotional exhaustion, anxiety that are constantly on this loop with you and that can keep you stuck, then let's talk about caffeine. And I want to say with this, I get it. I have given up caffeine completely before. I have done half caff, I've done decaf, I've done all the things. And so I just want to tell you up front, I have been there. I know how not enjoyable it is for someone to tell you that caffeine might be the issue. But I would love for you to just hear me out and also know that I have personally walked this out and seen the results of it as well. One thing I want to touch on when we're talking about caffeine is that in my coaching framework, we talk about 9 different areas that are going to really give you a foundation for good health. And I call them the Power 9. Caffeine actually messes with several of them in quiet but very powerful ways. And I want to share some of those with you. The first one is air. So caffeine is going to shallow your breathing and keep your nervous system on high alert instead of allowing you to have that calm, the calming effect, and also to really get in those deep breaths that are also going to help to be calming to you. We also look at it and it affects rest. I kind of shared this earlier, but it's going to delay and kind of numb out your body's natural need to rest and also ability to downshift and to get into that rest state. So it's going to also rob you of deep restorative sleep, which we know is essential for healing. Stress is another one. It, of course, is going to keep you in a stress response pattern by elevating your cortisol and your adrenaline, keeping you in that chronic stress state. Okay, then let's look at food. Often we use caffeine in replace of nourishment. So we might skip breakfast and have coffee instead. Caffeine can also suppress appetite for some, and it can also override your hunger cues, which might mean that you are not fueling your body properly. The last one would be emotions. So when you are constantly stuck in that on state, your brain does not have the space to slow down and to process emotions because it's literally stuck in survival mode. So a lot of times we can have these emotions that we are just kind of shoving down and not dealing with as well. So what feels like it's survival, like, oh, this is survival fuel, I need this to make it through the day, is actually just pushing you further and further away from true healing. Okay. Another thing that I talk about would be your stress recovery resilience cycle. So what this is you are designed to face stress. None of us can avoid stress, but the goal is we face the stress, then we recover, and in that recovery, we then rebuild strength or resilience. But caffeine lets you skip the recovery part because it masks the signal that your body uses to slow down. And that's going to keep your nervous system from completing the cycle it needs to heal, to recover, which of course is going to also prevent you from building that resiliency. So when you are pushing through exhaustion by using caffeine, instead of responding to it, acknowledging what your body needs and allowing it to recover and then build resiliency, your symptoms are just going to stay. Not only are they going to stay, often they will get worse. Okay, so I want to share with you, this sounds like, wow, this is really a downer. This whole episode is a downer. And we are going to have another episode on caffeine, and I'm going to share a little bit with you next week on why caffeine affects people differently and how it affects us. But for today, I want to share a couple of different ways that you could look at potentially dealing with caffeine. Okay, so the first one is going to be what I would say like a 24-hour caffeine, maybe like curiosity test. So for one full day, pause and don't have anything at all with caffeine. And then I just want you to notice what happens, not just physically, but also emotionally. Look at it and then ask yourself, without caffeine, what time do I actually crash? Whenever I feel my body, I guess what I would say is like, without caffeine, what do I feel in my body whenever I'm not overriding it? And what I mean by that is like, at what point in time do I feel like I need to rest? At what point in time do I feel like I want to go to bed when I'm not trying to override or numb it out with caffeine? The other thing I want you to look at is, what am I needing? Whether this is like rest, connection, food, whenever I'm not relying on caffeine. And then I want you to focus on, as you're cutting caffeine out, look at offering your body something that is going to be truly restorative instead. This could be 3 deep breaths with your hand. on your chest. It could be a tall glass of water with some sea salt or lemon. It could be having food that is protein rich with a healthy fat to really balance blood sugar and stabilize your energy. It could be maybe you're doing like a 10-minute walk or a 10-minute rest. It could be that you're taking some time to sit and pray or listen to worship music. And the thing with this is just remember, you don't have to quit caffeine forever, but I really encourage you to try cutting it back and seeing how your body responds. So many people think that they actually have no issues with caffeine and that it does not affect them until they cut it out and realize the difference. Okay, if you are saying, hey, that feels way too hard, one day, full reset, I just don't think I can do it, then this is the other idea. Try a caffeine curfew. So let's say no caffeine after 12 p.m. And next week, I'm going to tell you why I'm saying 12 p.m. But for now, let's just say no caffeine after 12 p.m. This is going to give your body time. It's also going to give you half of a day where if you wake up in the morning, you're having some caffeine, maybe you won't get that headache, but you're not having that caffeine way into the day. If you do this, I want you to try this for maybe 3 days, 7 days, and see what happens. Are you falling asleep faster? Do you feel like you're sleeping deeper? Do you feel slightly more rested in the morning? Let's just see. I really challenge you, and this might be something you have to work up to. I know whenever I cut out caffeine completely, I had to start with like half calf, and then I did completely decaf, and then I just cut it out completely because the headaches were just too much for me. So again, listen to your body, pay attention to what you know your body needs, but let's start getting curious about what caffeine is actually doing to you. So I get it. I had 4 kids under 4, and I know what it feels like whenever caffeine is your lifeline, or so you think. And in some seasons, it really is okay if that is what you're just having to use to help you function. But when your body is already in survival mode, which often happens when you're having any kind of chronic symptoms or chronic illness, then masking your symptoms is just going to keep you stuck in them. So like I said, next week we're going to be talking about how caffeine sticks around longer than you think, why some women are more sensitive to it than others. I am one of those women, so stick around for that, or come back, I guess, for that next week. And then if you have been struggling with sleep or brain fog, even though you feel like you're doing all the right things, then again, you are going to want to listen to next week's episode. All right, friends, that is all for this week. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you back next time. Hey friend, I hope you found today's episode helpful. If you did, would you take a minute to share it with another mom who's struggling with chronic symptoms? And leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to me to know this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to go tackle those snack requests, and remember that a short walk, even if the kids turn it into a race, still counts as self-care. Keep chasing those little wins. Even when it feels messy, you're making progress. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. I'm not a doctor, and this podcast is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. You're the expert on your body. Listen to it and reach out to a trusted provider for support.